Well, fans of The Last of Us video game bring immense expectations, I think, to its adaptation as a premium TV series. But what about a guy like me who never played more than an hour of the first game and just wants a well-made, intense, and dramatic story with a zombie apocalypse backdrop that doesn't feel like simply more The Walking Dead? Stick around and I'll share my thoughts. I'm Peter Franson from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions with my uncut review of the series premiere for The Last of Us on HBO Max. The synopsis for the series on IMDb reads, Joel and Ellie, a pair connected through the harshness of the world they live in, are forced to endure brutal circumstances and ruthless killers on a trek across post-pandemic America. Specifically post-zombie pandemic America. The synopsis for episode 1 reads, 20 years after a fungal outbreak ravages the planet, survivors Joel and Ellie are tasked with a mission that could change everything. All right, so what does this basic animal feel like? It's hard to talk about the first episode without giving spoilers. Much like the first hour of the first video game in the Last of Us franchise. But I'll say that it's clearly setting up a dramatic, character-driven story. The first 30 minutes is almost all invested in character, establishing Joel's personality, his life situation, his priorities in the pre-outbreak world. So when things jump forward after those first 30 minutes to the post-outbreak world, we understand why Joel is the way he is, which made him, in light of the setup they did and the events of the first 30 minutes, made him easy for me to sympathize with, even as he is hardened and uncaring at a surface level. So those first 30 minutes are really important. The tension is created both by zombies, as you would guess, but also by the conflict between two major post-outbreak factions. One is the remnants of the U.S. military, who are trying to hold order and society together with a harsh military dictatorship, and the other is the Fireflies, a rebellion organization of some kind that we know very little about in this first episode. For me, right now, a lot of the tension is based on the unknown nature of the zombies, and the unknown nature of the factions, and the unknown nature of really the state of the world. We have some snapshots of the wreckage of cities and stuff like that, but there's still a lot that we don't know. Where The Walking Dead started losing me was when survivors became too familiar with zombies, too capable of fighting them off, unless the writing suddenly, arbitrarily, to serve some plot point, decided to make them, the humans, incapable and make the zombies conveniently silent ninjas until the moment that they strike. Walking Dead zombies became just kind of a natural part of the world, like hurricanes, where, you have to be cautious because they are life-threatening, but it's not this entirely unknown phenomenon that is just inescapable. At this point in The Last of Us, the zombies have a fungal origin, resulting in a disturbingly bizarre and unique look to the infection, which I appreciate, but it wouldn't take much for them to become too known and familiar, and therefore lose their scariness. My hope is that the show will know when to quit before that happens. The reveal of Ellie's significance to the main characters and potentially the whole world is something that I knew about going in, and Ellie herself is not explored much in the first episode, apart from establishing her as an understandably aggressive and defensive young teen. So the jury is out on whether or not I'm going to feel attached to her or repelled by her. Honestly, I would be interested in some of both, and just that kind of complexity. It's certainly in other characters they are leaving room and already showing indications of complexity in how we are kind of meant to feel about them. All the characters are flawed with sympathetic, I found, motives and understandable rough edges given the world that they live in. And they seem to be putting pieces in place here to explore relationships between several characters in potentially really moving ways to me. And I'm very much on board for that. And yet, I can't tell if they'll really make good on that potential that I'm seeing based on the first episode. As far as the cast goes, Pedro Pascal does an unsurprisingly to me great job in both the hardened and fragile moments of his character. He's a performer that I think communicates thoughts and emotions pretty well without words, which I hope they will increasingly leverage as they've already started to do here. This looks like it's kind of an actor's project where a good amount of storytelling is going to be allowed to be conveyed through performances instead of, expositional dialogue. So I'm really on board for that approach, and I see the potential for it here, not just in the script and how it played out in the first episode, but in casting someone like Pedro Pascal. Anna Torv plays Joel's companion and partner, Tess. I only know her from The Fringe, and it's just really great to see her in such a different role. I love a setting like this, which tends to allow actors to not be prettied up by the makeup people and to just, always have the most flattering clothes and makeup and stuff like that, but just make them look rugged and just not attractive, and then let them act, So I'm on board for seeing what Anna Torv will do with this character. I'm already enjoying what I'm seeing of this rugged character as she portrays it so far. Bella Ramsey plays Ellie, and I can't tell yet how I'll feel about her as a performer. She is I believe, a young teenager, if either the actress or the character, I'm not sure, but old enough that she doesn't quite qualify in my mind as a child actor, and child actors can really fall short for me because just by nature they are not as skilled and experienced performers. And so, but she's definitely stronger than, a young child actor just because she's older. But is she going to be of the same caliber as the other performers around her? I don't know yet. This is all that I've seen her in, and Ellie has a very guarded exterior in the premiere with just a few brief moments suggesting another side to her. So I'm open and interested, but her performance hasn't really grabbed me yet. Let's see, as far as the stunts and the visuals go, most of the effects are practical, which I always appreciate, and there are some really engaging effects sequences in the unfolding disaster during the first 30 minutes. Zombies so far seem to be all or largely practical, but I doubt that's going to continue to be the case since small elements of one or two zombies, specifically the animated fungal elements like stuff coming out of their mouths, were created with CG effects. And in the last shot, it's a distant shot, but you do briefly see some kind of a creature that is clearly, just by the way it moves to my eye, animated and not done by by a performer, or at least, performance capture at most. So I'm not really optimistic about where they're going to go as the zombie creatures look more bizarre. I suspect they're going to lean into CG, which is really not what I would prefer. CG attempting to portray living things almost always looks fake to me, so I'm not looking forward to the full body animation that may be used to portray more grossly infected zombies down the line. However, the visual design for the infection, as it's increasingly overcoming the zombies and what the remnants of their bodies, is, as I said, bizarre and disturbing for me to look at, and that can help offset less convincing CG by at least being interesting or unsettling for me to look at. That said, so far the show leans mostly on its setting and human antagonists, and the sets and costumes all look great and convincing to me. So I'm not put off by what I've seen so far in terms of visual effects. Okay, as far as themes, I always like to ask, is there anything of moral, philosophical, or spiritual significance going on in the themes of the entertainment I'm taking in that might trigger some worthwhile thought or conversation? It's hard to say what themes are being set up, but the most likely theme seems to be something about learning to become close to people again after experiencing hurt in a past relationship, or as a result of a past relationship that someone was really invested in. In fact, in a very blown up and fantastical sense, the premise of The Last of Us and Joel's story mirrors that of someone who is hardened against relationships due to a past hurt of some kind, while also feeling as though the world around them is dark, oppressive, and largely just about surviving. That is very much a mentality that we can go to emotionally and relationally when we've really been hurt. And so I'll be interested to see how intentionally they might lean into that theme, how it's potentially developed, and other parallels that might be reasonably drawn to that theme or other themes from the story as it goes forward. Now, I have no idea what your tastes are in TV shows, but if I were a time traveler, I'd go back in time and say, Pater. Okay, skip this for now. It's a solid start, but not as immediately gripping as you found that first episode of The Walking Dead. However, you know where that eventually went and the increasingly more and more disconnected you became from that show. If The Last of Us learns from the... Okay, no, that's not urgent. It's uncut! If The Last of Us learns from what I would consider the shortcomings in the long-term execution of The Walking Dead, then I could easily see myself investing in this story. However, I'm also going to wait until the entire season, maybe even the entire series, has been released. At this point, doesn't feel worth an ongoing subscription to HBO Max. It's rated TVMA, likely for language, violence, and gore. And those are all of my thoughts for now on the series premiere for The Last of Us on HBO Max. Right now, I like to take some time to write a tune for pre-made rhyme. The lyrics kind of never change, but the melody gets rearranged. I never know what I'll create to say how much I appreciate Dan, Excel, Josh Reading, Gabriel Stinson, Brian Franklin, Olin D. Branham, Drew Rubb, Winston Crutchfield, Lee Bray, Justin D. Myers, Cosmic Fox, and Joel Nelson. Thank you for supporting me, and SBP and CGC. And now to all who hear this tune, thank you as well. Please come back soon. Wanna hear your name and song? Check out our page on Patreon. I would love to get your thoughts and reactions in the comments below. Please like, share, subscribe, click that bell to stay connected. Anything you want to do to help connect this help other people connect to this content. I always really appreciate that. I do want to thank the Spirit Blade Insiders for making this review possible. You can get info about the benefits of joining over at patreon.com/spiritblade productions. Then I hope you'll check out our podcast and stay connected to all CGC content over at christiangeekcentral.com as we continue to geek out and seek the truth. For more chat about geek entertainment, answers to your questions, and news from the wider world of Christian geekery, get the Christian Geek Central podcast today on iTunes and other podcast services.